Lacey Everett here with Minds in Motion. Don't forget to subscribe to the Minds in Motion YouTube channel in order to help others. It is free, easy. You just click a button and then you're done. If this video impacts you, send it to others, because if it impacts you, most likely it will impact a lot of other people as well. Today's guest is Vinny Balbo, who is a professional dancer, actor, director. Vinny is a creative genius who produces, directs, and acts in numerous short films, and he's been in commercials, movies, shows, etc. He's going to give us the most wonderful knowledge today of what it's like working in the entertainment industry and tips for how to excel in that industry. You might know Vinny from the walls in Apple stores because he did a shoot recently where he was a dancer and they blew him up and put him in the Apple stores. And he is someone who is really pursuing his passion and a great role model for humanity. Vinny talks about mental health struggles that he overcame that really can relate to a lot of us. And he talks about tips on how to not compare ourselves to others and not take constructive criticism too personally. He gives us tips on how to properly network in the entertainment industry so you can achieve that next job. Vinny also talks about what keeps him motivated and inspired to be the creative genius that he is, and tips for others on how to stay motivated. Vinny gives wonderful tips on how to stay sane in the work and how to overcome mental health struggles that he's overcome and tips to do so. It's a really powerful talk and it's such a treat to have him. Let's go meet Vinny. Hi, Vinny.
Hey, how's it going? It's been far too long.
So, Vinny, you are seriously, truly a creative genius. Your short films, your dancing in itself is just something. I could write a book about that. But your short films that you do, your acting, directing, dancing, all of the things, I'm just so curious what keeps you motivated and what inspires it. It's so unique.
Oh, thank you. I try to, it's really weird. A lot of my inspiration comes from so many different sources, and it's never really the same thing, at least in terms of, let's say, like a short film, or if I'm going to be directing something. A lot of my inspiration will come from, it doesn't always come from a script or a story. It can come from very strange different things. A lot of times I'll find a really fantastic location and I'll work on building a story out in that location, knowing like this is where a story is going to happen. But then other times I will have an entire story inspired from an article of clothing or just a short conversation I have with somebody, and there's like a little snippet of something really funny or something really clever or something that I will say naturally, and I'll write it down really quickly and kind of just slowly sit on it and then build a story around it. That's how a lot of the short films that I have were just from like one little random thing that I like put in my notes, and then like a couple months later I'll have a script that has that thing in it, but just a whole script around it. And it kind of just turns into this whole other thing. It's really weird how the like evolution of it all changes from just one little strange thing.
Yes, and it sounds like the best kind, because it sounds like for you, it all happens so naturally. Nothing's forced. Something happens in your day or with a group of friends or whatever it is, or a location, and then it seems like you amplify that.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to force it. Like if it didn't feel like this is really going to be something cool or fun or funny, I wouldn't really put my energy into it. If it's really drawing me in, I'm gonna do it justice, hopefully.
Yes. Okay. So one, it sounds like you really pay attention to your feelings, which is so important just in life and in art, that, oh, okay, I feel this. And my intuition's telling me I should keep pursuing this specific short film idea or this dance in this specific location, which can also translate to life because a lot of us don't really listen to our own feelings, and we can see how detrimental that can be. So there's a life lesson instilled in that. Pretty
There
nice.
definitely is. It definitely has taught me to see things through for sure, and be open to, you know, new ideas and new experiences, to just, you know, widen my perspective always.
Absolutely. Widening your perspective. Well, Vinny, truly, it seemed to serve you so well. So I'll give it to you. And just out of curiosity, can I ask, what do you like as a kid? It's the psycho dynamic in me.
I think
Were you
I
artsy too? Is it?
I both of my parents are artists, so naturally, um, I don't know. I feel like I was a lot of what I am today still. Um, just better social skills, but pretty much the same child mind. Yeah, I was in a costume probably 90% of my childhood, like different, you know, Halloween costumes, just all the time. All the photos, I'm in a little costume. Um, but I spent most of my childhood in the woods. My parents' place has a really huge woods in the backyard, and that is where I spent like years of just going in there with friends and just using our. It was just really was a nice clean slate for a child's imagination to take a hold and go crazy places. When I visited recently back home, I went back into that woods, and it was just really nostalgic, and you really question yourself, like, that's so insane that I got so much gratification and had so much fun out of like just pretending this and this and that while I'm running in the woods. And today, you know, I still do love running in the woods, but, you know, I'd also rather do a lot of other things. But yeah, I try to keep as much of my childlike brain intact, I guess.
Yes, absolutely. You're just, and a lot of us actually, research shows a lot of us in psych are really just an extension of our inner child. And kind of like you said, I'm just the same but better social skills. What a nice mindful place to be. A space for you in the woods to just not really have much but your own thoughts and your own
Yeah.
creativity to grow. So if we're ever lacking in our creative juices, then we can go to the woods. That'll be a good, yes. Also, I wanted to ask, with the entertainment industry and like with the evolution that you've talked about, what struggles have you overcome? Because we're human and things happen and life is hard. I validate that for everyone. And so I'm just curious, with the entertainment industry, with life, what lessons did you take from it? How did you overcome struggles, keep mentally sane?
Yeah, I've been doing this entertainment career for the last almost 7 years, and
Wow.
and there's been a lot of times where I have reached very low points where I wanted to, you know, throw in the towel, but and
Yeah.
just kind of, you know, call it and be like, oh, maybe I need to take a few years off and do this and that, and that's not to take away from anybody that has done that. Like, everybody's scenario is different. Some people, they go home for a couple of years and they come back and they're a huge success. Like, everybody needs different things, and I think for me, I needed to sort of prove to myself that I have to keep um, pushing through the really hard times, and it's when you're in the entertainment industry, it's really hard to, when your work that is being criticized and scrutinized by people is literally like intertwined with you. It's not just like a book you wrote or something. It literally is physically you. It can really take a toll on you mentally and your self image, and it's it I mean, while at the same time really strengthens that, and you learn to separate sort of your own emotions and be like, I just don't look how they want for this whatever, and that's okay. And you know, you learn to not take things personally. It literally isn't about you, it's about the story. If it's, you know, in terms of a film or something like that, you know, it's, or if it's the way you dance, it's maybe they wanted someone with a little more something else. So I think really focusing on the fact that my work my work is me, but it also is separate from me. Like I am my own person, but then my work is over here, but it's still me, but there has to be a division of some sort. If it's 100% you, and if your, you know, video doesn't get X amount of attention, you can't take that in as validating yourself. And I've made that, I only learned that so recently, you know, because I have been in so many spirals of feeling so overwhelmed with trying to impress people and trying to get this validation that amounts to nothing really. Because if I'm just not happy, then it doesn't matter. So yeah, I really think that something that helped me stay sane over the years really is trying to understand that my own work is separate from me, and I can still be a person, a normal person, aside from all the crazy things that I get into. Yeah, that's what I would tell my younger self, is to not, you know, connect it so much.
Yes, not to get intertwined too much where it becomes you and your identity.
Yeah,
And it sounds like, Vinny, what you said is so powerful. That's really speaks a lot of truth and a lot of power. There's so many people who struggle with that, with taking constructive criticism or making it about validation.
yeah,
And it's like, we have to kind of notice it, like you said, notice it. Okay, where is this coming from? Because I can be a person and I can have this career, or
right.
and I can be in this movie. And if I didn't get the job for the movie, let's say as an example, that's okay. And it sounds like you kind of had to just sit in that space and let yourself feel those uncomfortable emotions, and also realize that, well, that has nothing to do with me.
Right.
They're critiquing something else, not me, myself, and I.
Yeah. When you give some performance, you know, you can think of it as like you've balled it up and you've given it to them, and they can do whatever. They can hate it, they can love it, but it's been given to them, so it's not you, you know.
Yes, that's such a good one. Bundle it up in a ball, throw it
Yeah.
at them.
Throw it in their face and hope that they like it.
Yes, exactly. That is such great advice, truly. When I was dancing professionally for the Lakers,
Yeah.
I got a little bit like that, where it became who I was.
Mm-hmm.
And it caused a lot of anxiety and just mental health, where it's just, you're not okay and
Yeah.
you're not keeping sane, like you talked about. And it's hard because you had to realize, okay, for 2 hours, I'm going to be a Laker girl. And then afterwards, I'm going to be Lacey. And you can do the two and kind of separate it. And so it sounds like the advice that you're giving of kind of creating something, putting it out there, and letting that be something else and not who you are is speaking profoundly to help mental health in anyone.
Yeah, it's so, you literally, I think, just whatever it takes to make sure that you are in a comfortable place mentally. Like there's no, you know, as long as everyone is out of harm's way, literally whatever it takes. If you have to throw your phone into a river and live in the mountains for 2 months. Whatever it takes, like do it, because that's who you are. Having a sort of peace of mind with yourself is, if you don't have that, then you really are going to be in the wrong place when you're trying to work and when you're trying to pursue your passions, for sure.
Yes. Oh, wow. And you have become such a success, Vinny, but also you, as you were back, little Vinny in the Halloween costumes in the woods, was a success already. And we are enough as we are, like no matter what we accomplish, we are enough. And it sounds like to become a success, I can say, in your career, because you as a person are a success just out of the womb already. All of us are. But to accomplish all these things, I feel like you've done so well, and it's so inspiring to others. And I feel like if you didn't have those techniques that you use in your life, of just that knowledge of, okay, I'm going to create something and try not to compare myself to others, or try not to let it affect me and take it too personally. It seems like it's really helped you and helped you to grow even more.
It really, I mean, for the first few years of my, LA career, I didn't have those tools or that knowledge. And I was still finding some, favorable success in terms of work, but I wasn't in the best, mental space as I feel like I am now. In the last maybe 2-3 years, I feel like I've had the most sort of mental clarity. And along with that came a lot more exciting things in my life, I guess, but also, within work. So yeah, it was just doing something much more simple is so much more enjoyable when you're feeling on track in your own head. Because I did some really big, exciting jobs, in 2015, 16, 17, but there were so many tools that I was still missing, and it's hard to not wish you could go back and just sort of adjust things, but you can only learn and move on.
Yeah, exactly. We live and we learn. And now I have to say, I'm extra grateful that we get this from you, Vinny, these words of wisdom, because like I mentioned, a lot of people struggle with this and don't have that knowledge. So now they do.
Now they do.
And like you mentioned too, it took a long time. It took years. So it's also, I think, important to notice that we're not going to have this mindset when we wake up tomorrow. It's going to take practice. Okay, so it's accumulation of taking a long time to get comfortable with it. Allow yourself to maybe not conquer it right away and know that that's okay, but it will happen the more we practice. Just like the more we practice our dance moves, the better we get.
Exactly.
So
I want to always share some information that a younger me would always appreciate. There are other people that are on a similar path. I suppose if to someone who finds themselves in Los Angeles or New York, or a big entertainment industry city, that it's just really important to be obviously charismatic to everyone, but you've got to understand that when it comes to dance jobs, acting jobs, singing jobs, any of these things, the casting, the people that search for you and find you are sort of the gatekeepers of this world of the entertainment industry. So I think that just being really open to starting relationships and friendships with people. When I was younger and I would do a job, I would never think to get the director's email, send him all my stuff when we're done with the shoot. and then have a connection there and have a relationship there. And I'd be caught dead if I didn't do that now. Like it's like a no-brainer now that it's like, oh, you get everyone's email on set and you send your stuff to all of them and it will lead to another job. It always does. Really seeing the crucial importance of networking and being friendly in these scenarios is just as important as executing your performance as well as you can. It should be right up there with them, because that's how you do it again, and that's how you get back on set or back on stage again, is being likable and being friendly. And without that, if you're just there to work and you leave, they'll forget you. And you want to be friendly and personable, and it's uncomfortable for some people, but it is definitely a skill to work on and to learn. And I think that once I started doing that, I was working more than I ever had. Once I was actually doing proper networking.
Networking.
Yeah.
Yes. So even right there in your own life, evidence has shown that it works. And yes, and that's such a smart tactic to do. And like you said, now you can't imagine not doing it. It's just part of the routine. But how powerful that can be, because you don't know who you're going to meet and you don't know what they're connected to or whatnot. So you might as well. Why not? It would never hurt.
Exactly. Yeah. In 2 months, they might, need somebody who looks like you, and they saw some of your videos and you'd be perfect for this or that or whatever. You never know what kind of connection you'll make. So it's always might as well.
Yes, you never know. And that's beautiful in itself, is just kind of the unknown. And wow, look at all these opportunities I could have if I reached out and if I networked. And too, like you mentioned, people who kind of just do the job and go home, they're not going to be remembered, or people who you work with that might be a drag or negative or not a good worker, late. No one wants to work with people who are like that. So like you said, that's very important to be friendly, personable, respectful, all the things.
Yeah, it really is a deal breaker in a lot of cases.
And lastly, what are your goals, Vinny, for the future? Or what stuff are you working on now?
Yeah, well, let's see. My future goals, I suppose, are to do what I'm essentially doing now, but just always on a greater, larger scale and more of it, because I couldn't be happier with what I'm doing now. I always strive to do things bigger and better, but I'm also really satisfied. I love producing my own work, and I love being in other people's work, and dancing and acting and all that fun stuff, and just constantly kind of taking all of that and bringing it to new levels. And got another short film that is starting pre-production for it in a couple weeks, and that'll be really fun. And
goody, I cannot wait to watch it. I'll be the first. I'm like such a little fan with all of your short films, so I can't wait.
Yeah, this one will be really, really different and really fun. And then later at the end of the year, I believe, the movie Nighthawk that I starred in should be coming out, I think, before the year is over. And that's a really fun horror thriller movie that I had the great opportunity to be a part of, that we shot last year. So when that comes out, I'll be sure to make sure everybody knows and everybody can see it. I think it'll be on some streaming sites somewhere, but looking forward to that too.
I really can't wait. This is great. And it's very admirable, Vinny, that you're open to just doing everything you're doing now because you listen to your intuition and you know that you're happy, and you're just going to keep exploring and keep doing more of it. It's very admirable.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It was so lovely talking to you. It's been ages.
I know, ages. I know.
From
And it's
ballet
funny
class
because
to here. Can you believe it?
I know. It's bizarre. And it's funny because when I see your face, it feels like I had just seen you. But it's
Mhm.
really been like probably years or something. It's yeah. So thank you so much, Vinny.
Of course. Thank you for having me.